What are you Oh, what you do is so important. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, and I'm glad you watched my, films. I wrote a memoir too, in case if you get a chance to read that, that's great. I have the Amazon, um, my, I have it up on Amazon, and I have the link, um Oh, thinking about reading the memoir, and you had a difficult childhood. Oh, because you're trying to make sense of it all. Really helps to see others as brave as yourself. Oh, I'm glad. The memoir has trigger warnings, so I think it's less triggering than the films. Here, okay. Hello from Maryland, Melissa from Maryland. Oh, welcome. Yeah, was it a hard day for you, Mother's Day? I had an okay day, but yeah, it used to be such a hard day. It used to be like the hardest day of the year, and now things are better for me in a lot of ways. Um, I don't think of my mother anymore. I think of myself as a mother, and that really helps. Oh, you want me to speak about Mother's Day? Is that please speak on this on about Mother's Day? Oh, hello, Fly. Let's see. Hello, I'm a bit foggy, but thank you for doing this. My therapist was just telling me I needed to find an alternate activity or support group. Oh, very good. Okay, a lot of people don't always celebrate Mother's Day, not because they don't love their mothers, but because of their difficult childhood. Yes. Um, yeah, and I guess I when I'm thinking, do I love my mother? I did. I don't think about my mother a lot anymore, and so I did a lot of grief work around her, and that's in my Mother's a Molestation, a film about child abuse film, and so I'm not ever gonna go to her grave again, and I but, when I do think of her, I'm okay. I'm okay thinking about her. I just don't do it very often. It's like she's not so central in my life anymore. It's like I'm more central in my own life than before. I put a lot of emphasis on her and just in general on other people. Um, yeah, Mother's Day, um, my husband always gives me a Mother's Day card, so that's nice. I do have sons, and I knew the one who lives in town was gonna work a 12-hour day today, so I knew I'd have time for this as well. But, I get I do get a lot of my joy through my friendships and my creativity and people like you, my long distance people who I know. And, thank you so much for your comments, and thanks for being here. I'm gonna look at I'm gonna just see if anyone has tried to contact me through my, uh, email, so I see if someone's having trouble getting on. Oh, oh, my password's not coming up, so I'm gonna go onto my other computer. Okay, I'm gonna look and see more. Did your own mother put pressure on you to celebrate this day? Well, that's a good question. So oh, thank you, Lauren. Um, so I'll tell. my own, um what happened with my mother. So my mother sexually abused me, and she allowed other people to sexually abuse me. She and my father were my pimps. So I remembered my abuse not until I was 37 years old. So once I remembered my abuse, then I didn't want my children to be around my parents, of course. And my parents seemed much more interested in getting to see my children than in seeing me, which was, I think, a red flag. Um, and so, I mean, that kind of ended my relationship with my mother. So I always did celebrate Mother's Day. I gave her gifts and all those kinds of things on Mother's Day until I remembered my abuse. And I don't know if I I did some anger work. I know I went to her grave and after she died and did some anger work. I sure I did some before. She always wanted she did want contact with me, but there was just a higher priority on contact with my sons, which was, of course, really scary and upsetting. Um, and so then when so at 37, I remember 20 years later, I made my film, Am I Crazy? My Journey to Determine If My Memories Are True. And it was a way to confront my parents who were dead. I went and talked to people who reminded me, well, particularly of my mother. And I did a lot of work around my father in that film and came to a point of acceptance. But after that film was over, I knew that there was more work to be done related to my mother. And so that is the work I did on camera for Mothers and Molestation, a film about child abuse. Hi, Mary, sending well wishes from London. Watched your documentary recently, and it was incredible, harrowing, but very important watch. Ordered your book. Oh, good. Okay. And Michelle, I'm glad to be here. How did you uncover your memories? Okay. So for me, I was not the first person in my extended family to have recovered memories. I was the I was the fifth person. I had 3 cousins and my aunt who had already remembered. And so my aunt talked to, her brother, my father, and when I knew that, um, my parents' reaction was just really odd. It was like, "Yeah, we're not gonna ever see her again. She has these, odd beliefs. She thinks she was sexually abused by um, our grandmother." So I met with her and I just knew what she was saying was true. I just, I, she didn't tell me I was abused, but she told me I had witnessed abuse and ritualistic abuse. And I knew it was true. And I started, I was in psychotherapy with my ex-husband. We were in marriage counseling, and he oddly said, "Well, we shouldn't do marriage counseling anymore. You should just go to the counselor." And I was not as strong as I am now, and I said, "Okay." And so I did, and, I asked for hypnosis because I had young children, and I needed to know which relatives to protect them from. And so then I remembered some things in hypnosis. I had 5 hypnosis sessions, which are in my films or in my Am I Crazy? My Journey film. And I just I knew, that's how I remembered that I remembered on my own, just in my sitting in my living room, that a man's hand grabbed, a dog gruffly, which I knew could be ritualistic. And then next time I went, then when I went to hypnosis, the hypnotist had me said, go up the man's hand, and I could see it was my father. And that just really changed my life. It really changed my life. And I did tried to talk to my father naively. I thought he'd go to counseling and we could get this all worked out. And I didn't remember that he had sexually abused me yet. And he said, "Is this going to lead you to believe I sexually abused you?" Which I hadn't even, I'm like, "No, I don't think so." But so, in a sense, he kind of told on himself, I would say. Um, and I soon remembered that my mother was at the rituals and that my mother, I remembered being sexually abused by my mother. I remember child pornography being made. Thank goodness you are so brave and motivated to find out the truth. Good. Yeah, it's great for you to be here. And can anyone give an idea of something that helped them on this Mother's Day, getting through this Mother's Day? I don't usually go to church, and I went to church this morning, and, that was nice for me. Being no contact, yeah, no contact with your mother. You sent a card, but you had no other contact with your mother. Yeah. Yeah, I will say it was easier for me when my mother died. It was so much easier when my mother died. Although, the first year after my mother died, I did grieve. I mean, every holiday I'd think about her, and I mean, I grieved that full year, even though I hadn't been in contact with her for several years. Well, let's see, what else? The other thing I did, I go to yoga really often, and I just got back from my yoga class. So that's something that helps me to feel good. And I work today, I'm a psychotherapist, and I take my weekends are Mondays and Tuesdays. So today I saw a new client, and I really like all my clients. So that was a good thing to do. So that was an hour today. Um, and I was aware, it was Mother's Day when I made the appointment with him and everything. And it felt good to be a support to another person on Mother's Day. My relationships with people not related to me are much less complicated than my relationships are with people I am related to, including my sons. So, there's, some hard things related to my sons that, uh yeah, and I guess that's all I'll say. And so, I always so I make sure I have a balance with friendships. I have grandchildren, but, a couple years ago, it was right when vaccines were available with the pandemic, and I, um, I put a little ad in saying "Grandma for hire," so I could just babysit with a child that I knew, that I'd know I'd be able to make the arrangements of when she was gonna be here. I'd be able to say yes or no, and just gave me more control than with my grandchildren. And so she was 5 then, and now she's 7, so she's been coming over about once a week. Now it's a little less that she's in school, but, she's gonna come Thursday. So she's a good part of my life, and, I write about her in my memoir. And my memoir is my life now, but an essay that's not triggering, that, I really, really, appreciate you, um, I really I if you read my memoir, please skip the ones that are too triggering for you. That's why I put trigger warnings on. So you'd skip them, not so you'd read them all. But the one, My Life Now, it's not triggering. How do you feel about all the advertising that shows perfect mothers? Yeah, it's really hard, isn't it? And I mean, it's not even realistic, because even when you try to be a very good mother, you're not going to be perfect. But yeah, and it's especially hard at Mother's Day. It's sure hard to find cards for your mother if she wasn't a good mother. I joked with another survivor of maternal incest once about how, there's no greeting cards that are gonna cover that, and so, yeah, it's really hard. Oh, okay, Fly sent a blank one and just put "Happy Mother's Day." Oh, that's a good way to do it. Yeah. I think, Fly, you're saying maybe I shouldn't have, but I think it's fine. I think it's fine. If it I think the focus needs to be on you and how you get through things, and if that in some way helped you get through it, that's fine. Oh, Anna. Okay. Hi, Anna. Yeah, I think there's no right way to recover. I mean, what was done to us was so wrong, so extremely wrong. And there's no right way to recover because how can there be? How can there be a perfect way when what was done to us was so abnormal and inhuman and just wrong? I will say that I think anger is important, has been for me personally. And so the anger work I've done in my recovery has been really helpful. I don't think I ever would have gotten as well as I am now had I not embraced that anger. And I also don't believe I know this is controversial and some of you may really disagree, but I don't think it's necessary to forgive. And so that's not been a goal of mine to forgive my parents. Some people think I have given when you watch most of the people who say that forgiveness is essential. Well, in fact, everyone who's told me forgiveness is essential, if they've seen my film, they say, "Well, you forgave your dad. You forgave your mom." So it's all an interpretation thing. But I just think that anger um, can be really useful because we were told not to have the anger when we were children and horrible things happened to us. I agree with you about forgiveness, but my mother is obviously mentally ill, very severe narcissist. Okay, Anna, I understand. So your mother's mentally ill, and that might make you feel a need to feel sorry for her. But what's real important is that you give yourself empathy. I mean, that's fine if you give your mom empathy. That's absolutely fine. But what is essential to your recovery is to give yourself empathy, to love yourself, to give yourself breaks, to let yourself do what you need to. But, and maybe that was the best way to send a blank card that said Happy Mother's Day. I mean, maybe that was something you could be true to yourself and still do something for your mother. Um, I have wondered if my parents were mentally ill. I mean, there were pedophiles, but for me, this is me, and I think everyone goes through, why did my parent do this? Why did my abuser do this? If it's your parent, if it's not your parent, why? And, there's usually no real answer, but the search, I think, can be good for you. I read books, like I read People of the Lie by Scott Peck. I read other books on evil, and on, When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Kushner is the name of that author. I really tried to figure this out. Um, Further Along the Road Less Traveled, I like that. So, I mean, I've really worked on trying to figure out why my parents did what they did. And the last, story in the last chapter of my memoir is basically how I used to think of my mother, because I had an angel connection with her for a while after she died. It was 7 years after she died. I don't I rarely, if ever, feel that connection now, but I did, and I wrote a story about, a grumpy old lady who goes to heaven and becomes a little girl angel, and then she sees how her life affected her daughter, who would be me, and she wants to go down and fix it all. So you have a mother-daughter story with the mother being a seven-year-old angel. And, yeah, that was part of my healing about my mother. So, I mean, I needed to in some ways have compassion for her. And I tell you what was really hard with my mother. I remember my therapist. Well, this was in the late 90s. I remembered in 1993, and this was mid to late 90s. And she was helping me do a goodbye ceremony for my parents. And I remember going in her office and saying, "I can't do this. I can't tell my mother goodbye." And I hadn't had contact with my mother for a long time, but I'm like, "I can't do this. This is too hard." And I did do that. I think it was before my mother died that I did that. I She had me bury a symbol that represented my mother and bury a symbol that represented my father. Um, so, um But I just remember thinking, "I cannot live. If I say goodbye to my mom, it will destroy me. I cannot live." So I have gone through a lot. I'm fine now on it, but I have gone through a lot. A little random, but do you know an identical twin SRA survivor? I'm an identical twin. My mom used us against each other. Oh, I'm so sad. And that happens a lot. And no, I don't. Yeah, I've wanted to reconnect with some of the people who were abused when I was abused. And I haven't been able to do that. But that's especially hard because she is identical twin and what a strong connection. So I am so sorry, Michelle, that that happened. I'm really sorry, Michelle, that you don't get to have contact with her, that that was in essence taken away by your abusers. Maddie, the Mother's Day was the first time I didn't say Happy Mother's Day to my grandma who raised me. She emotionally and physically abused me, and she's narcissistic. But I feel bad and almost guilty. Oh, so you feel guilty, but you made it through Mother's Day. You made it through Mother's Day without doing it. And now you feel guilty. That's one reason I did this at the end of the day. Maddie, what time zone are you on? What time is it where you are? Oh, is it pretty common for identical twins to be used in SRA? Um, Not that I know of. I mean, I've heard things that happen to twins. I have heard things that happen to twins, but I can't think of other people who have actually contacted me who are identical twins. So it must not be very common because I do know a lot of survivors, and I that has not come up. Catherine says, "Agree with you, Mary. It is key not to sit in empathy." Yeah, empathy for parents. Yeah, it's kind of a dangerous place to be empathetic toward your parents because, abusers try to get you to have sympathy for them, and it can be kind of a part of the abuse cycle. Anna says she's not a twin, but my mother pitted my brother and I against each other, and that I have heard a lot, a whole lot. Alana, happy Mother's Day to you. Maddie, you are in Eastern Time, so you're in Central Florida. Oh, okay. So you have made it through Mother's Day. Your only task now is to not feel guilty, Maddie. You've made it because it must be about 10 o'clock there, right? You made it through Mother's Day. And sometimes the hardest thing to do is not feel guilty, but you made it through everything else. So, yeah, I hope you can maybe write a love letter to yourself or something like that, Maddie, to help you feel good about this day. And good for you for being here, Maddie. That's really good. My narcissistic mother glorifies her own mother and almost worships her, even though she wasn't always the best mother to her. It's strange. Is this common thing among narcissistic mothers? Yeah, I think it's yeah, I mean, I think if you think of narcissism as emotionally young, that's my the last chapter in my memoir about my angel connection with my mother. That's how I see my mother, as very young. And anyone who's young like that is, is going to see things as white or black, good or bad. And yeah, I think it's very common. My own mother was fairly critical of her mother, but she glorified her father, and she had a very sick relationship with her father, and boy, she just glorified him. Oh, Catherine says to Maddie, stay strong. This is your detox. Keep going. What a nice comment, Catherine. I love that. And I love that that people are supporting each other. Oh, we have an ad coming. Please stay on during the ad. I've never had an ad on YouTube before, so I hope it's not too boring, but anyway, we're about to have one, and I'll talk to you right afterwards. Tell me when the ad, oh, there's no ad here. Okay. I don't know what happened. Okay, that's fine. Good. I'll keep talking. You can hear me? Not seeing ad either. Can you see me though? You can hear me. Good. I don't know what happened with the ad. I'm really sorry about that. I'm just learning YouTube. So I'm glad you can hear me. I'm going to just keep talking. Oh, you can see me. Yay. Okay. I am going to need to learn more about how YouTube works. But I just I asked to be monetized so I could put ads, and then they said that my content wasn't original, which I know it is, but I've let someone else use it on his YouTube, on Real Women, Real Stories. I let my film, Am I Crazy? My Journey to Determine If My Memories Are True. I let that be on that website. And oh, ads don't normally happen during live stream. Oh, I wonder if they insert it for later. Okay, good. Thank you for knowing more, Anna. But anyway, so then I did this video showing that, yes, these are my films. And, I have so much proof that they're my films. I'm on IMDb, which is independent, which is what all filmmakers put their films on. So then so then I did that, and then I tried to get my films on my ads on some of my films, and they said none of mine were the right, type. Oh, Michelle, yes. So I see that you had emailed earlier and you're here. Yay, that sounds good. Yeah, I don't usually have a lot of it's hard for me to have time to talk to people individually. So I'm glad you're here. Yeah. Did you have other questions for me, Michelle? Monetizing on YouTube has ads in your regular videos. Yeah, they're saying mine are like, too dark or whatever. So I've got to learn more how to do them. Yes, go ahead, Michelle. Yeah, YouTube is strict about content. Yeah. And I'm just learning how to do it because some of you may be here because you saw me on Anthony Padilla's YouTube, but I'm just so fortunate that he interviewed me and a lot of people saw it. A lot of people saw it and then came. Hey, Mary, this is so cool. Hey, yes. Hi, Hayden. Yes, I think it's cool too. Michelle has a question. No? Yeah, go ahead and put your question in, Michelle. My grandma was the same way. She glorifies my great-grandmother, even though she doesn't treat, her well. Yeah, she's always trying to seek approval. Yeah, that's too bad. Hayden, recently watched your films. Yay! I'm happy you're here. Oh, and Anna, you came from Anthony's video. Yeah, I he was really nice to me. He flew me down to LA. I'm in Washington State, and he flew me down for the interview. And he just it was really nice. I mean, he really is as nice as he seems in his videos. So yeah. Oh, I really like his one on DAD. Oh, yeah, and that's his most popular. I mean, that's got the most views of any of them. So, yeah, Michelle's still waiting for your question if you wanna ask one. Yeah, I that is such a good one. I was so impressed, and I talked to 2 other survivors who he had interviewed on human trafficking, Rebecca Binder, a sex trafficking survivor, and I'm not thinking of the other individual's name, but 2 women who I met at conferences, and they said he was great. And it was really scary to have someone else edit because, I'm a film editor, but I was pleased with how they edited. I only I did a couple little things that I might have done different. Um, I did go public. I told him I was going to about there's a denomination that refuses to investigate a minister, and the minister was. I saw the minister is a SRE survivor who says that memories like this are false. I mean, or maybe I don't know why he does what he does, but he calls me crazy and all. Someone that I grew up with at my childhood church. Um, Michelle, I'm scared of doing hypnosis because I think it happened to me before. Is there another technique I could try to remember memories? I recommend EMDR. Really, when I had hypnosis in 1993, EMDR was not commonly done. And now it's easier to find a therapist who does EMDR than hypnosis. So that's what I would suggest you go to a therapist who you go to a therapist who does EMDR. And that's okay that you don't have any family to talk to. I'm glad you brought that up because I just want to say how rare it is that I had all these relatives with recovered memories. I mean, that's so rare. And they have not been willing, they weren't willing to be in my film, except for one allowed me, was in my film, allowed her words to be in my film, but not her voice or her image. But yeah, I'm very fortunate. And that's why I made the film, is to do something to help survivors in the same way I was helped by my relatives. So I hope, I hope they do help you have more confidence in your ability to know what's true. And I think you're the only one who can really know if it's true. Oh, I showed my partner your film, and we have been talking about you and your work for weeks now. She says hello, and it is so happy you are live as well. Oh, that's so nice. Thanks, Hayden and Hayden's partner. Yeah, Michelle, Anna advises find a trauma specialist. Oh, and Anna, you haven't done EMDR. But mine uses. Oh, yeah, I've heard of internal family system therapy, and yeah, that can be helpful too. Um, I didn't exactly have that, but I have had EMDR, and it's less intense. It's usually less intense than hypnosis, and that's why. Um, but I will also say, regarding the hypnosis I had, I was totally aware the whole time. I mean, it's not hypnosis like they do at the circus or something. That's not what happens. Oh, yeah, Hayden, you might do some EMDR. I've known people that had good results with that. Some therapists are better than others with EMDR, and they just can get me deeper. And sometimes it's not the therapist who I like the best, it's an interesting combination of things. I also came from Anthony's video. So shocked that more people don't watch you. You came from Anthony Padilla's video? Okay, it has like 1.1 million views. Unless you're talking about Real Women, Real Stories doesn't have as many views. It has quite a few. Your videos are so eye-opening and validating. Oh, you were shocked that films on my YouTube channel don't have more. And yeah, I just don't have that many subscribers yet. Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. And oh, thank you, Michelle. And this film you made was also a huge eye-opener. Most people assume abuse occurs at the hands of a man, and that is not always the case. Yeah. It can be the person who's supposed to love and care for you the most. Yeah. Yeah, and I get I get contacted frequently by other survivors of maternal incest. Yeah, I went to a 12-step group for it was for adults who were sexually abused as children, Incest Survivors Anonymous. And it was right next door to a big AA meeting. And so sometimes people would come over from the AA meeting for maybe a couple of sessions. And there were so many men. Oh, there were so many men who had been sexually abused by their mothers. There were so many men who had been sexually abused by women, and at least half of them it had been their mother. Oh, oh, you just gave birth, Sarah. You just had a baby. Oh, how exciting. This is your first Mother's Day as a mom. That's so exciting. Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, I have heard of psychedelics being used in therapy, and yeah, I know some survivors in Australia who use that. I haven't used it, so I don't have any firsthand information about it. Um, oh, it's good. Yes, it is good to be aware. And one thing is, I don't compare abuse. Like someone who was emotionally abused by their parent may have been just as hurt as I was with the sexual, physical torture. And so I don't compare. And I don't know, Sarah, if you're saying you hadn't been abused at all, but even if that's the case, it's so good you're here because that means you're someone who wants to have your eyes open as you're raising your child. So good for you. Oh, it was. It was Anthony's video. I was just impressed with how many people, 1.1 million. And then he has a YouTube video with a TikTok video with 5 million on it. So I was thrilled, but that's how I've gotten so many followers recently. Another question. If I had inclinations of things, but not memory, yet is it probably true? What are your thoughts on that? They sound crazy, but they feel right to me. I I would consider that a memory. I personally would consider that a memory. Now, I've remembered some things, some details and stuff, and then later decided they weren't true. So, that's fluid and all. You don't have to have EMDR. You don't have to have hypnosis in order if you're having inclinations that seem to be true, then give yourself a little more time with it. Sit silently, or if you have uh, believe in a higher power. I believe in God, and so I talk to God about it. Or if you believe in in your deepest self, in your small, still voice, whatever you believe in, give yourself some time to ponder that because honestly, no one else is going to be, you're not going to get you're not gonna get confirmation from the outside, and interestingly, even when you do, people still don't believe you. So, yeah, if you remember it, then you remember it. Um, the inclination, you don't have to have visual memory, you don't have to have auditory memory. I don't have, memories involving smells, and the people I know who do have the memories involving smells are, it's really hard. I mean, they're really, um, um, yeah, they're usually have fairly separate personalities, DID, but I mean extreme DID. So, but it is possible to have memories of smell. Okay, it's very sad because abuse that men go through at the hands of women is seen as lucky and not as abuse. Oh, it is horrible. It's horrible. And yeah, it's horrible. You hear people, Don Johnson, a movie star, it's, that shows I'm old, but he was a movie star, famous, and he talked about his own experience and made it seem like, it wasn't abuse. He just liked it or something, but he was still a child. He was like 14 or 13. Yeah. Um, okay, Maddie meant to say something else. Okay, and Anna has a message for you, Michelle. I'm glad. Oh, I'm glad you're here for the live. Sending love, everyone here watching, and you as well, Mary. Thank you. All beyond, wishing you all healing you desire. Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you, Hayden. Smell is closely related to my memories. Oh, smell is closely related. I smell my grandmother and other family members. Most have passed when I am having a memory of them. Yeah, yeah. I had one memory and I heard this love song, and it was like God was singing a love song to me, and then I had this horrendous memory. It's in my essay, but it's highly triggering, so I'm not necessarily recommending it. But I just have 3 essays that are highly triggering, so I've narrowed it down enough. Yeah, I think we do have an amazing group. Isn't this good? I'm so glad I did this, and I'm gonna go for another 20 minutes, because I told people I'd have an hour, so, gotta head out. Okay, bye, Hayden. Okay, let's see, other Mother's Day things. Well, one thing I do for myself on days that are hard for me is I send myself a card. I've even literally gone to the greeting, gotten a Hallmarks card, literally bought one. And then I find you can't put it in your own mailbox because mailman doesn't know what to do with it, but you have to put it in like go to the post office and mail it or whatever, and then have it come to you on the day that's going to be hard for you. And that really helped me. One time I found and so during the year, I'd buy a birthday card if it just really spoke to me. And one year I realized I had 3 birthday cards for myself, and I sent them all. And that was really good for me. I used to wrap up presents for myself when I don't so much celebrate Christmas anymore. My husband's Jewish, but when I would before I put the Christmas box away when my children are young. I'm celebrating Christmas during my first marriage. And then I would buy something for myself and put it in there. And by the next Christmas, I'd forgotten what it was. I just put it under the tree. So I had something I knew I would like for Christmas. That was when I didn't have a good marriage. And, I had good times with my sons, but I didn't have parents. I didn't have good marriage. I didn't have my brothers and sisters all, but brothers and sister all called me crazy. I had one sister who died when I was 9 and she was 11. But I actually have another sister who's not in my films, although I did include them in the family essay in my memoir. Christmas is the worst holiday for me, trauma-wise. I remember you said Mother's Day was yours. Well, they kind of both were, but what made Christmas easier for me is that when I was growing up, my parents were these really strict, cultish Christian, and they wouldn't let me celebrate Christmas because they said it was a pagan holiday. And even the people from the really conservative church I went to, um, celebrated Christmas. So I was just really alone in not celebrating Christmas, and it was just a horrible time of year for me. So then when I remembered my abuse, it was interesting because I started enjoying Christmas more, and, it didn't have the memories, the bad memories with it because it was something I wasn't allowed to do. So I was taking voice lessons, and I would sing hymns like we sang at church and like we sang at church growing up, and I'd have trouble staying on tune for those, but then I would sing Christmas carols and I could stay on tune. So yeah, in my odd way, I was kind of blessed with Christmas as being a pure holiday. Was it a control thing for them not to celebrate Christmas? I think they liked us being different than other people. I think it may have been, I don't know. I've kind of ceased trying to figure them out, but yeah, I've wondered, like, I mean, they went to church all the time. My parents knew the Bible really well. I memorized lots of Bible verses growing up, and I'm so glad I have those in my memory. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Did they really believe that? Did they I don't know what they believed. I've gotten and, Anthony Padilla he's interviewed Satanists on his channel. So, I did say during my interview with him that I don't know that my abuse was satanic abuse, and, it's because my parents went to church 3 times a week. I mean, they definitely called themselves Christian. I'm not sure if they ever called themselves Satanist. I know the things they did were um, evil. And so I get a lot of negative comments from Satanists, and I really, from Anthony's on Anthony's channel particularly, and I really don't. I, that really wasn't. I mean, I knew Anthony had interviewed Satanists already. I watched that before he interviewed me, so I guess I didn't know what he would say about Satanists or how he would, want that to be, but I did ask him to put satanic ritual in his blurb, in his title of mine, because, those words are not used very much, and, because we're not believed. If you say satanic ritual abuse, you're usually not believed, and, what's happened for me, because I knew I was a survivor, but then, I didn't realize I was a survivor of child sex trafficking. I thought it didn't count because my parents were the ones who did it. Um, so, um, yeah, maybe there's time for a new name instead of satanic ritual abuse, but yeah, uh I usually say ritualistic abuse. I don't normally say satanic ritual abuse, but I got my films got a lot more views when they were on Real Women, Real Stories, and he put satanic ritual abuse. That's the first time I'd gone public with that name. But anyway, once I'd made my film, I was trying to find fiscal sponsor. And or I still had a bit to go on my film, but someone said contact Shared Hope. It's um, a child sex trafficking, or it's a human trafficking organization. I said, well, I haven't experienced human trafficking. There's like, but you said you had been victimized in child pornography, and that is human trafficking, which I agree it is. And so that's the first time I realized. I mean, I went to the conference. I mean, I would just that's just when I realized. And I mean, my abuse fits so many definitions of familial child sex trafficking. So familial being that my pimps were relatives of mine. But and that used to not be so well known that there is such a thing as people think of child sex trafficking as a child who gets kidnapped, but I was never kidnapped. I was never homeless. And there were times that men literally came to my home, into my home. So, so it's a lot easier for me to be public about the child sex trafficking. And in fact, that when Anthony called me, he wanted me on his show about human trafficking, and there were going to be three of us on it. And then I asked him, would he talk about these other types of abuses? And he agreed to interview just me. So I'm really pleased about that. It gives me so much hope that you can speak on this so calmly and objectively. Amazing, really. Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Oh, so love you talk show. Hello from from Alaska. Ah, Catherine from Alaska. That's great. Yeah. Yeah, I am really doing well, and I really like that my life can be encouraging to other people. I think of recovery work as a part-time job, and I used to be in extreme pain. My financial situation was pretty dismal. I mean, so many things were going wrong in my life, and, there were holidays I was literally all alone, and now my life is so much better. And so I like to tell people your recovery work is a part-time job and the check is in the mail. You just haven't received it yet. But I really believe you do the recovery work, then you're going to have, you'll have a good life. And, but, it is work. But it seems like everyone here is doing work. So good for you. Well, let's see. We have like 4 more minutes. Any last questions? Oh, so, Mother Mary is your spiritual mother. Yeah, I was, you don't worship her, but you have taken her as your mother. It's a Catholic devotion. Yeah, I was being raised in the Church of Christ, a conservative, um, fundamentalist church, and we were taught, like, "No, Mary's not a saint," and all that. But, I've known people who then end up becoming Catholics or having some exposure to Catholicism. And I too, the images of Mother Mary, I was in, Europe and, during a time of a lot of grief, and it would really help me to see the statues of Mary, the mother of Jesus. Okay, I have well, let's see. I should be wearing my glasses, but I've got like 9 more minutes, so I do have a little more time. If some of you have more questions, let me know. I do have time if someone wants to talk at the end of this privately, I can spend about 10 minutes. Hi, Mary and everyone. I'm late, but wanted to say hi. An RA ritual abuse survivor in California. Oh, I'm the only one in my family who will talk. Yes, me too. Very grateful for this today. Yeah, I was approached by I've been in contact with a um, reporter, and he's willing to do an article on ritualistic abuse, and he specifically wants to interview multiple victims of the same perpetrator. So my cousins, they could do that. I did contact a cousin, and she did actually text me back. So maybe we'll see if, because that would be so good to have a reporter come in and have that kind of validation. I would love to speak to you in those 10 minutes. Yes, Michelle, that'll be good. Okay. And Michelle, what we'll do is I'll get off of, there's an ad coming shortly, so just hold on because maybe I'm not supposed to talk during that. I don't know what's going on. So ads will run shortly for some viewers. Oh, for some viewers. Oh, maybe you don't live in the right place to get to see the lovely ad. So I'll keep talking during it. Um, and yeah, so we'll end this call, Michelle, and then I'll have 10 minutes. And I, Michelle, are you in the United States? Because if you are, then I'll just talk to you by phone. Okay, good. Okay, yeah. Michelle, I'm going to email you, or please email me your phone number, and we'll talk for 10 minutes as soon as this is over. Other questions from anyone else? Michelle and I are going to talk, but anyone else have something? Good. Yeah. Well, how about you want to, well, let's see. Thanks for the mini therapy session. Sure, Anna. Oh, it's so nice to meet all of you. It's just so nice. I think we have had this a really good group. I'm really pleased about it. So yeah, this is going to be up on my on YouTube if you want to hear it again, or if you have friends who want to hear it. And I am going to post it. And if anyone has a problem with that, let me know right now, because I don't have to post it, but I was planning to post it. Okay, I'm not hearing from anyone. So yeah, so I plan to post it, and then people who couldn't come would go for it. Okay, people who couldn't come can listen to it. So it is now 7:25. I'm going to give you another chance for any questions or comments, and then I'll close it down. And Michelle reminding you to email me your phone number. Oh, thank you, Catherine. Thanks for coming. Oh, good. I'm glad this was good for Mother's Day. Good. Oh, thank you. Lolita, I haven't heard from you before. Do you mind saying where you're from? So we have people from, see, there's someone from, I think, Chicago. There's someone from Alaska and Florida, maybe mostly in the United States this time. Oh, and from Canada, good. I saw Anthony interview. Yeah, I really, really appreciate that he did that. Okay, well, congratulations for surviving Mother's Day. Yay. And Sarah, congratulations on just becoming a mother. Wow, that's really cool. Texas, Alana. Okay. Alana, I'm I can't I can't remember how I know you. I know you. So if you have my email, you can email me and tell me. And also, I'll just put my email here if anyone wants it. And okay. So, wow, we did good. We made it. And I'm going to do this every year. So just come to my YouTube channel every year for it'll maybe a different time of the day, but for a Mother's Day time. Okay. Good night. Good night, Anna.